favorite English language learners. We are live. Hey, Roman the dog. Good morning. I'm happy you're here. I'm just going to wait for some people to join us, but before we begin, I do want you to think about the question I have on this slide. The question of, how does climate change cost you money? And if you have an answer or an idea, please put it in the chat. I would love to hear your thoughts. We're going to have a reading in a little bit about this topic, so I would like you to start thinking about how money and climate change might be related. You can also tell me what the weather was like today in your country. Right now in California, it is sunny as usual. Hi, Yasser Walid. So good to see you. Thank you guys so much for coming this morning. So yeah, tell me what the weather is like right now in your country. I would love to hear from you. Hey, SoCal Vibe. Happy you're here. SoCal Vibe, do you live in California or do you live somewhere else? I'm curious. Guion, I'm so happy to see you. I missed you last time. But so happy that we're here live together. This is such a fun way to connect, and I hope you enjoy our lesson today. So again, if you just joined us, later in the live, we're going to talk about how does climate change cost you money? So if you can think of any ways that climate change might be expensive or causing you to spend money, I would love to hear your ideas. Weather now is very hot in Baghdad. Oof, I bet. Hopefully you are in the air conditioning or have some fans going, Yasser. Oh, thanks, Guion. All right, let's see. It is wonderful to see you. Thank you so much. After all your comments, it's fun to communicate live. It's 8 a.m. here in California, and I know you all are all over the world, so thank you for making the time. I think we can go ahead and get started. So yes, again, thank you for coming to my live stream. Let's have this question in mind today about how does climate change cost you money? We're going to be reading about that in just a little bit. And let's see, SoCal Vibe says, it's cloudy here in Seoul, South Korea. I lived in LA for 7 years, but back here in Korea since COVID. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. COVID just messed up a lot of things, right? But that's really cool that you're in Seoul. I actually always wanted to visit there. And being in LA for 7 years is a long time. Good, Yasser. I'm glad you're in front of the air cooler. I think you need that. Sounds really hot over there from what you've told me. Great. So once again, let's go ahead and get started with that question in mind. How does climate change cost you money? We're going to come back to that in a little bit. So welcome to class, everybody. Super happy you're here. This is the little schedule or agenda for today's class. We are going to first start out with some idioms about nature, just a fun way to warm up and hopefully give you some new sayings that you haven't learned yet. All the idioms will be related to nature, the environment, things like that. Then the main portion of our live today will be a reading, and there's going to be like 4 parts to it. We're going to make some predictions. So again, if you haven't predicted how climate change could cost you money, send it to the chat, and we'll think about that. Then I'm going to teach you a little bit of vocab that we are going to see in the reading. Then I will read out loud and we'll see how that vocabulary is used in real life. And then at the end of each section, we will check the predictions that we made. Now the reading is a little bit long, so I broke it up into 3 sections just for your engagement and to hold your attention. So we're gonna kind of go through this process 3 times. And then at the end, we'll just have a Q&A, question and answer. So if you have any questions, please send them to the chat and hopefully I can answer them. Ooh, great, Gian. Let's see. Food prices because of flooding, frosts, and droughts. Absolutely. Yeah, if the weather takes away your food or there's not enough water, then you can't grow your crops and food might become more expensive. It's a really good point, Gian. Love that idea. Okay, so here we're going to start with our 10 idioms about nature. Number 1 is a late bloomer. Number 2, the early bird gets the worm. 3, the tip of the iceberg. 4, the birds and the bees. 5, the saying, nature calls. 6, down to earth. 7, dropping like flies. 8, to make a beeline for something. Number 9, the calm before the storm. And 10, when it rains, it pours. So I'm going to go over these one by one with lots of examples, and then I'm going to give you a little quiz to see if you remember the meanings of these. So number 1, a late bloomer. We use this as a noun, and this refers to a person who becomes successful, attractive, or mature later than others. And to bloom is just when a flower opens up. So right here, the flower is blooming. And we use that to talk about a person becoming more attractive or successful. So for example, I don't know if you all know Steve Carell or you have seen The Office, but Steve Carell became famous at 43 when he appeared in The Office. He was a late bloomer. So typically celebrities become famous maybe in their teens or in their 20s or their 30s, but Steve Carell was a bit older when he became successful or when he became famous. So we can say he was a late bloomer. Let's see. Do you all know who Steve Carell is, or have you watched The Office? Let me know. It's a funny show. Good way to learn English as well. Another example, here is a boy named Jeremy. This was Jeremy's picture at 20. You can see he's a little awkward. He's not very attractive, not very mature. But then here's Jeremy at 30. And he obviously is much more put together, looks very successful, not as awkward, and pretty cute. So we can say that Jeremy was a late bloomer because he became attractive or matured at a later age. So Jeremy is a late bloomer. Number 2, you probably already know this one, but just in case you don't, it's super common, so I thought I'd cover it. The early bird gets the worm. This means the first or the earliest person to arrive gets what they want or has the most success. So someone might ask you, how did you get the new iPhone so quickly? And you would say, I waited outside the Apple store at midnight. The early bird gets the worm. And in this case, the worm is the iPhone and you are the bird. And you were there the earliest, so you got the iPhone first or early. Number 3, the tip of the iceberg. When a small part of a problem or situation is seen or known about, that's the tip, that's what we can see. But there is a much larger part that is not seen or known about. So here you can see the tip above the water, that's what we see or what we know, but there is a lot more under the water that we cannot see. And to use this in a sentence, I might say, my students think that when they pass the TOEFL exam, they are done learning English. but they don't realize that the TOEFL is just the tip of the iceberg. That's the only part that they see. They think that learning English is over, but they don't realize that there is so much more under the water or so much more English to learn, that they're only just at the tip of the iceberg. You can also think about this phrase as being just the beginning. It is just the beginning of learning English. And another example I have right here. An employee says, "Did you hear that Kevin and Jamie got laid off? They lost their job." And the coworker says, "Yeah, and I think that is just the tip of the iceberg. I think our company has more problems we don't know about." So we have one problem that we can see, but we assume or we think that there is much or that there is many more problems that we can't see or that we don't know about. So we see the layoffs and we think that is just the beginning. That is just the tip of the iceberg. That is just the part we see, but there's probably much more that we don't see. And number 4, this one is kind of funny. This is just, we say the birds and the bees. This refers to sex education or just the topic of sex. The connection between the birds and the bees and sex is kind of funny or weird to think about. But you can ask, when did you learn about the birds and the bees? And that means, when did you learn about sex? And you could say, my mom never told me about the birds and the bees, so I had to ask my friends at school. Number 5, the phrase nature calls. This is also another funny one. It is referring to the need to go to the bathroom. So for example, when you're camping and nature calls, you might not be able to find a bathroom. Or when you're camping and you need to go to the bathroom, you might not be able to find one. So obviously going to the bathroom is just a very natural phenomenon. We all do it. And so if nature calls, then you have to answer the call and use the restroom somehow. Another example, maybe you're on a road trip or you're in the car for a long period of time. I'm imagining a family with like 2 kids, and one of the kids in the back says, "Hey, can we stop at the gas station? Nature calls. I need to go to the bathroom." So this is kind of just a useful way of saying I need to go to the bathroom without saying I need to go to the bathroom. Okay, and number 6, we have the phrase to be down to earth. To be down to earth means to be humble, to be relaxed, to not be arrogant. And we usually talk about it about people who are maybe very successful or they are important, but they don't think of themselves as important. For example, even though Stephanie is super successful and owns her own business, she is really down to earth. And you can see her here saying, "I'm just a regular person." You don't have to use it for important people. Just a regular person can also be down to earth. They're just really humble, really kind, easygoing, relaxed. I'd say my husband is pretty down to earth. He doesn't complain a lot. He's very humble. And then another example here with some celebrities. We have Tom Hanks, Jennifer Lawrence, and Adele are all known for being down to earth. They act just like regular people. I'm not sure if you're familiar with all of these celebrities. Maybe you are, but they do have a reputation for being and acting like normal people. Especially, well, all of these, but Jennifer Lawrence and all her interviews, she's just so funny. Like, she just tells jokes and doesn't really care about, her appearance, or I don't know, she's not very conceited or arrogant. She seems like a down-to-earth person. And something I wanted to highlight is that the phrase down to earth, it's got a lot of prepositions. We have down and we have to earth, but we use this phrase as an adjective. So notice here we have a down to earth personality. Personality is a noun, and down to earth is being used to describe the noun personality. So down to earth is an adjective. A down to earth person. Again, person is a noun, and down to earth is an adjective describing the type of person. And then the last one, he or she is down to earth. We have an adjective in the predicate or after the verb, but being used as an adjective. So you might understand the meaning of this idiom now, but in order to be able to use it, you do need to know that this is an adjective. So always use it before a noun or just after the verb be. Oh, good. Glad you're liking these, Guion. They are really useful. I tried to pick ones that we actually say a lot. Some idioms are kind of outdated, but I would say that these I use, pretty frequently. So hope they're helpful for you. Number 7, to drop like flies. This one's kind of gross. A lot of people die, fall, cancel, or quit kind of all at the same time. So they just all drop, they all fall, they all die at the same time. For example, when my students find out that I'm a hard grader, they start dropping like flies. My students love to get straight A's. They always want really good grades. So when they find out that I might mark them off or I don't give everybody a good grade, they think, oh, I shouldn't take her class. And they all begin to drop. So they start dropping like flies. And here is actually a true recent story that I saw in the news. In a lake near San Francisco, fish are dropping like flies because of an algae bloom. I guess in this lake near San Francisco, there's extra algae, more than normal, and the excess is killing all these fish. So you can literally see here that these fish dropped like flies. There's thousands of them. Pretty gross, but I thought it was a good example, and this just happened this week, so kind of interesting. Number 8, to make a beeline for something. This is to walk straight to something or head directly for something. So for example, whenever I get to a party, I make a beeline for the dance floor. I go straight there. That's the first thing I want to do. I do it immediately. And notice, how to use this phrase here. We make a beeline, and then we use the preposition for, and then whatever we want to go to. So make a beeline for something. I have another Office reference, so hopefully you know what The Office is. Kevin, this character, is famous for always eating. He's a bit larger. And so when Kevin walked into the conference room, he made a beeline for the pizza. So he wanted the pizza, he entered the conference room, and he went straight there. That was the first thing he did. Oh, your celebrity crush, Jennifer Lawrence. She's so great. She's so down to earth that I think regular people are really attracted to her. So that's funny. I like your vocab too, celebrity crush. That's a great term. Some nice slang. And then another example with this one. When David saw his ex-girlfriend come into the party, he made a beeline for the exit. David did not want to see his ex-girlfriend. He saw her walk into the room and he made a beeline directly to the exit. Number 9, we have the calm before the storm. I feel like this really reflects what it means, right? So this is a time of peace or calmness before chaos or busyness or difficulties. So someone might ask you, are you excited for the holidays? And you can say, yes, but I'm definitely trying to enjoy the calm before the storm. So the holidays, as fun as they are, some people, find them a little bit stressful or chaotic because there's so much to do. You have to buy Christmas presents, you have to cook dinner, you have to organize your family and your schedules and seeing everybody. And it's a couple months of just a lot of plans and a lot of activities and events. And so before the holidays, that is the calm before the storm. let's see, another example. Someone might ask you, hey, how's life going? And you say, it's good. The next few weeks are pretty relaxed, so it's calm. But then I have 2 weddings, a conference presentation, and my son's birthday party. So that's a lot of things going on. And your friend says, so it's the calm before the storm right now. So right now is the moment where you have some peace, you have some extra time, you don't have too much going on, and then you have a lot going on. And our last idiom for today, number 10, when it rains, it pours. This means when life gets busy or difficult, it is very busy and difficult. Or when bad things happen in life, they all happen at one time. So a similar example, hey, how's life going? And you can say, it's good. The next few weeks are pretty relaxed, but then I have 2 weddings, a conference presentation, and my son's birthday party. And they say, so it's the calm before the storm right now. And you say, yeah, and when it rains, it pours. So we've got these 2 idioms with rain and storms and pouring, in that the rain just kind of represents a chaotic time in life. Okay, and another example, someone says, hey, how's life going? And you say, honestly, it's kind of hectic. Hectic means chaotic, or you have a lot of events or things that happened to you. You say, my grandma passed away, I just got laid off, and I have to find a new apartment. I'm pretty stressed out these days. And they say, oh man, I'm so sorry. When it rains, it pours, huh? So when it rains, it pours, all the bad things are happening at the same time. And I find that happens a lot, right, in life. So now I'm going to quiz you all. So make sure you get on the chat because I do want to see your answers. Let me just read some of these comments real quick. The birds and the bees. It's pretty similar to Vietnamese. We use the bees and the butterflies to refer to that thing. Oh, birds and the butterflies. That's cute. I like that. Other things. Let's see. I heard it on the Ellen show. Oh, nice. Celebrity crush. Yeah, she has that game, I think, that she does with celebrity crushes. Another good idiom is that Amir, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, when life gives you lemons, make a lemonade. We say that, definitely. Be positive and take it in stride. Take it in stride. Yes, to be positive. That's a great idiom. Thank you for sharing. So let's do our little quiz. Someone tells you, I'm so busy this week. I have to grade my students' essays, I have to pack to move, and go to my friend's baby shower. I don't know when I will get everything done. Should you say, when it rains, it pours? Or, wow, nature calls? A or B? What do you think? That's a lot of things to do. Which idiom should you say? Gian, yes, thank you for answering. When it rains, it pours. We have so many things going on, and that is all the rain. Thanks, Ramon. When it rains, it pours. Oh, you have the same idiom in Arabic. Oh, that's cool, Yasser. I didn't know that. Okay, let's do number 2. What's the first thing you're going to do when you get to your resort or your hotel? Good job, everybody. Good. So what's the first thing you're going to do when you get to your resort or your hotel? As soon as I get to the hotel, I'm going to blank the pool. Are you going to make a beeline for the pool, or are you going to drop like flies at the pool? Good, Amir. Drop like flies at the pool. Make a beeline for the pool. All right, so our answer is A, actually. So to make a beeline for something again means to go straight for it. So as soon as I get to the hotel, I'm gonna go straight there. To drop like flies. You think you're gonna lie down at the pool. So to drop like flies means to quit something, to die, to cancel something. So like my students, when they find out I'm a hard grader, they drop like flies. A bunch of people at the same time, they don't take my class. So it doesn't quite mean to lie down or relax, but to drop like flies means to kind of quit or cancel. Good, good, good. Let's see. Okay, this next one. Summer is almost over for you, right? When do you start teaching again? Someone asked me that yesterday. And I say, we start teaching September 22nd. I'm really enjoying the tip of the iceberg or the calm before the storm. What do you all think? So right now I'm on summer, but on September 22nd, things are going to get hectic or crazy. Oh, thanks, Amir. I'm glad you liked it. There we go. You guys are learning so much. The calm before the storm. Good job, everybody. All right. So I had 30 students in my class, and this week, 10 quit. Someone can say, oh, wow, they're making a beeline. Or, oh, they're dropping like flies. What do you all think? Are my students making a beeline? Or are they dropping like flies? Good, Amir. Good, Ramon. Yay! So fun. Thank you for participating. Dropping like flies. Yes. So they're all canceling. They're all quitting. All at the same time. Okay. Next one. Linda was really awkward and shy when she was a teenager. But when she went to college, she became more outgoing and made lots of friends. You can say, I was similar. I was a late bloomer too, or I was down to earth too. So I see a B, I see an A, I see an A. Which one will it be? So a late bloomer is someone who develops or matures or has more success later in life. And down to earth is someone who's very humble. So let's see. I would say, oh, actually this should be a late bloomer. I have the wrong answer. So that's not good. Linda was really awkward and shy. I was similar too. I became more outgoing and made more friends later. I was a late bloomer. So sorry, wrong answer here. I need to fix that. Let's move on. Okay, please excuse me. I need to use the restroom. And your friend says, ah, nature calls, or ah, when it rains, it pours. What do you think? What do we say when we need to use the restroom? Roman the dog comes in with A. Yes, you all got it. A, nature calls. Nice. Good, good, good. Yeah, so this is a fun one. It's like a nice way to say something that's kind of gross. Okay, let's see. Next one. It was so nice meeting Josh at your party. I expected him to kind of be stuck up or arrogant, but he was so nice. And you say, "Oh, I love him. He's so chill and a late bloomer or down to earth." What do you think? I thought he was going to be arrogant or kind of rude or feel too important, but he was so nice. Good. Oh, I love your emoji, Ramon. Yes, down to earth. We can all think of J-Law, Jennifer Lawrence, when we think of down to earth. Okay. So that was it for the idioms. I hope that you found them helpful and useful. Oh, we can go back. Yasser Waleed, not quite. Down to earth for someone who feels like a regular person. They're really nice, they're humble, they're relaxed. But we're going to move on to our reading. And again, I want you to think about our predictions or the question that we had at the very beginning of our lesson. How does climate change cost you money? Oh, let's see, we have some questions. Oh, Khan Akbar, you are a super great teacher. Thank you. That's so nice. Nature calls is a euphemism, right? Ooh, I love the word euphemism. Yes. So nature calls is a euphemism or a nice way of saying something. Another euphemism you might know is to say to pass away. If someone passes away, they died. But when you say they died, that's a little bit harsh. It's a little bit direct. So it's like a softer way of saying something. Let's see. Yay! Thank you for your emojis, Khan Akbar. Nice. Yes or yeah, it was A. Okay. Other things. Okay. Let me scroll up to the chat. I think someone had a really nice prediction for our reading. Let's see. Yes, okay. So in the reading, we are going to talk about climate change costing us money. And earlier, one prediction that Guion made was that food prices can go up because of droughts, of flooding, maybe ruining the food in a country and making food prices more expensive. Something personally for me in California, we have a lot of wildfires. In the last decade or so, I feel like wildfires have gone up a lot. And my husband and I, we had to buy an air purifier, a very expensive device or electronics device to clear the air, to make the air better to breathe. So that was expensive for us. Any other ideas about how climate change could be expensive? Let me know in the chat. I actually have two from students that commented on our post. So my student Gams said, deforestation has a big impact on drinking water as it dries up all our lakes and streams and thereby depriving us of the much needed pure drinking water. So I'm not sure what they do in this situation, but maybe they have to buy bottled water or spend money to purify their water somehow. That could be expensive. Yasser Waleed mentioned in his comment that the temperature in Iraq is unbearable. We prefer to stay inside in front of the air conditioner or an air cooler and take a bath 3 times at least to cool down. We have everything like air conditioners and air coolers, but we don't have electrical power all the time. And this comment reminded me of how expensive and costly it is to run your air conditioner in California. So I'm not sure, Yasser Walid, if you have to pay a lot of money to use your air conditioners, but here you do. So the hotter it gets, the more you run your AC, your air conditioning, the more money you have to pay. Ah, yes. Climate change creates social conflicts as well. People are fighting over resources, right? And conflict makes people poorer. Absolutely. Really good insight, Gian. Thank you for your comments. So we're going to read and we're going to check if any of the things that we mentioned are also mentioned in the reading. So keep these discussions and these ideas in mind, and we'll check when we read in just a little bit. So before we read, I just want to review a little bit of vocabulary to get us thinking about the environment. Here we have 4 different types of natural disasters. We have hurricanes, floods, wildfires, and heat waves. These are 4 of the really common ones created by climate change. And also before we read, I've got a little bit of pre-reading vocab for you. I'm going to start with 8 and then we'll move on to the reading. So here's our first 4. Number 1, long term. This means for a long period of time. You probably knew the meaning, but in order to use the word properly, you need to know this is an adjective. So we're going to see this used as an adjective in the reading. It will describe nouns. Number 2, to blow something off. This is a phrasal verb, and it actually has a literal meaning and a slang or a figurative meaning. The literal meaning is for the wind to physically take something away, blow something off of something else. There could be a bag on the table and the wind blows the bag off the table. But the slang or the figurative meaning is to make plans with someone and not show up. So if I tell you, oh, I'll meet you for coffee at 5 p.m. and you go there, I don't go. I blow you off. I blew you off. So thinking about this word or this phrasal verb and the literal and the figurative meaning, which one do you think we are going to see in the reading? We are talking about the environment. We're talking about weather. So which meaning do you think we're going to see? The literal meaning or the slang figurative meaning? Think about that. Number 3, to burn something down. This is another phrasal verb, but it's very literal. It means to destroy or ruin with fire. Number 4, we have our literal meaning. This means that food goes bad or goes rotten. So this banana is spoiled. But there's like a figurative or a more slang meaning, and it means to make a person or a child go rotten. So this little child here is spoiled. They get everything they want. They are not polite. They are very rude. They are spoiled. Number 5, a great adjective. We have the word unprecedented. Unprecedented. We saw this word all the time during the pandemic because things kept happening that had not happened before. And if something is unprecedented, it has never happened before. Also notice how I say this word. I kind of delete the T. I say unprecedented. Unprecedented. And we just heard this word so many times the last few years. And talking about nature, we are seeing unprecedented natural disasters, unprecedented amounts of weather, changes in the weather, right? Number 6, to knock something over. Another good phrasal verb, separable phrasal verb, to make something fall. It's very literal. To knock means to like push. So if you knock something over, you are making it fall down. Number 7, a fifth of. Now, I'm sure that you know this means 20%, but what I want to focus on is the pronunciation because we would not pronounce the second F because that would be way too difficult. I cannot say fifth too hard. Too many things going on with my lips. So we just say fifth. So the TH by itself, no F. Fifth. Fifth. And then when we use a fifth of, which is a common collocation, we use the preposition of with percents or fractions. We'll say a fifth of, a fifth of. So lots of F's in there. So you might want to try and say that out loud. A fifth of, a fifth of. And lastly, before we read, number 8, record breaking. This is the same as number 5. It means that it's never happened before. So you have a record, maybe the record temperature is 50 degrees Celsius, and then you have a day that goes 51 degrees Celsius. That is a record-breaking temperature. Okay, it never happened before. It's breaking all the records. So, with these vocabulary words in mind, we're going to read part 1, and you will see lots of these words. So it says, devastating floods, intense heat waves. It's been a summer of extreme weather. Weather we're seeing more because of climate change. And in fact, more than 3/4 of U.S. adults say they've been personally affected by this kind of extreme weather in the past 5 years. We're talking hurricanes, wildfires, and floods and heat waves. This is according to a nationwide survey conducted earlier this year by NPR, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and Harvard University. But there's another part of this survey that really caught our attention, and that is money. A lot of people who responded to the survey said their main problem with extreme weather, it's expensive. And many suffer long-term financial problems because of it. So notice the phrase here, long-term financial problems. Problems is the noun, and long-term financial are all adjectives. So today on the show, we're going to explain what extreme weather means for your wallet or for your money. All right, Becky. So most people in the U.S. say they've experienced weather events that are extreme. That's heat waves and hurricanes, floods, and wildfires. And I can think of a lot of ways that could cost a lot of money. Yes, so let's list some of the ways. So I'll start. The wind from a hurricane could blow the shingles off your roof. So here's the literal meaning of to blow something off. To blow the shingles off your roof. The shingles are the little tiles on the roof of your house, and they got blown off. Or a wildfire could burn your whole house down. To burn down is to ruin or destroy by fire. And notice that blow the shingles off and burn your whole house down, these are separable phrasal verbs, so the object is going in between the verb and the particle or the preposition. Reading the comments, sorry, 1 second. Okay, moving on. Here's another one you might not think of. It gets really hot and the electricity goes out, and then all of your food spoils. I've had that happen before. Yikes. So here we see the word spoils, your food goes rotten. So that's the literal meaning. And then Scott says, or an unprecedented storm could knock the tree over in your front yard and smash your car. That also happened on my street in April. Your street sounds kind of dangerous. But yes, so obviously there's a real range of things, and some of them are really big, like your house burning down. But one thing that the survey made clear is that even medium-sized storms and floods can be pretty tough on a family's bank account. Almost a fifth of people who experienced extreme weather in the last 5 years said they had serious financial problems as a result. So that suggests that it's not just the people who are getting hit by record-breaking weather who are struggling here. It's actually a much broader group. Yeah, exactly. One of those people was named Jennifer Harris. Okay, So let's check our predictions or the things that we said earlier. Do they talk about expensive drinking water, expensive air conditioning, social conflict, food prices going up? They didn't mention any of those things, but that doesn't mean we're wrong. They just didn't touch on that. Some of the things they talked about were electricity going out and your food spoiling, and maybe your roof getting destroyed by a storm, by a hurricane. But you all had such good ideas, and we're gonna keep reading and see what other things they talk about. So we're gonna see what actually happened to Jennifer Harris next. So let's make some new predictions. What do you think happened to Jennifer Harris? Let me know in the chat. Do you think A, a fire burned her house down? B, a storm damaged her roof? C, a heat wave sent her to the hospital? Or D, a flood destroyed her car? I'm going to take a moment. Let me know in the comments which one you think, and then we're going to read and see if our guesses are right. There's really no right answer right now because we haven't read yet, but I want you to think about this and make your guesses, make your predictions. We don't have good electric power in Iraq. For that reason, I can't buy an air conditioner. It needs perfect electric power. So it would be good to have the air conditioner, but if you don't have electricity, then it doesn't matter, right? And unprecedented is very difficult to pronounce in American English. Yes, we have unprecedented or tid. Amir said you can say unprecedented with the T. You absolutely can. There's nothing wrong with pronouncing the T. You just might hear us say it without the T. So be prepared. If you hear that word, it's the same word. Unprecedented and unprecedented. Both are totally acceptable in American English. Fine. Ooh, I'll take a shot at D. Ramon says A. So we have a fire burned her house down. A flood destroyed her car. A, B, C, D. I choose all. Thanks, Van. You will be right. Now, just so you guys know, I'm actually doing this. This is a really good reading strategy. When you read in English and you see titles and subtitles, it's good to read those. And before reading, think to yourself, what will this be about? And just make a guess. And that way, when you're reading, you're looking for the answers to your guesses. So it helps keep your attention. It helps keep you engaged. It gives you a purpose for reading, which actually makes you comprehend better because you are searching for something. So that is why I'm having you make these guesses. So we've got one A, two D's, and an A, B, C, D. If you want to put your guess in the comments, go ahead. But let's go ahead and find out. But first, we must do some vocab. So, number one, we have big ticket item. This is a really fun phrase or idiom. This means an expensive item, like a car or furniture or electronics or TV or a whole roof. A big ticket item is just something that's very expensive. Number two, we have insurance. You can have home insurance, flood insurance, fire insurance, life insurance, car insurance, and this is just a legal contract between a person and an insurance company. And you pay the company money, and when an emergency happens, they help you pay for the damages. Some other words in this word family include the adjective uninsured, uninsured. This means you have no insurance. And to be underinsured means to not have enough insurance. If you're underinsured, You have insurance, but it's not enough. Number 3, presumably. This is a very fancy adjective that means I assume or it is likely. We'll see it in an example in the reading in a moment. Number 4, recurring cost. To recur means to happen over and over and over. So a recurring cost is a payment or something you pay again and again and again. So my rent is a recurring cost. My car payment is a recurring cost. Number 5, a flood zone. I assume you know what this means, but it's a good collocation, 2 words that go together, a place where floods happen often. And some more words we're going to see. Number 6, increasingly unaffordable. Another good collocation. If you've watched my videos in the past, you probably know I love the adverb increasingly. That just means more and more and more. So if something is increasingly unaffordable, it is more and more unaffordable, more and more expensive. Number 7, property damage. This means damage to your property, obviously, but it's a good collocation to know. Number 8, to be on the hook for something. This means you are responsible for something. You have to do it. Number 9, savings. That's money you save and keep, maybe for an emergency or for another purpose. Maybe you're saving to buy a car. You have savings. Number 10, to pay out of pocket. This is a very big insurance term, and it means that you have to pay using your own money, not the insurance company's money, okay? And then number 11, to live paycheck to paycheck. Means you don't make enough money, you don't make enough money to save money. Your whole paycheck, everything you make, you spend right away. So if you don't make a lot of money, all of your money goes to rent, your car payment, groceries, and then you don't have any leftover money for savings, okay? So to live paycheck to paycheck. Oh, I should have done a contest. Well, not enough people participated, Yasser. Okay, just kidding. All right, so we've got these 11 great vocabulary words. Let's see how they're used in our reading. So part 2, let's see what happens to Jennifer. A, B, C, or D. Jennifer says, "Hi, Rebecca, this is Jenny. Jennifer is a nurse. She has 3 kids, a husband. She lives in Hampton, Virginia. And she told me that extreme weather has cost her family a lot of money. So their town is surrounded by water. It's on the coast. There are rivers and the Chesapeake Bay, which means there are hurricanes, thunderstorms, and floods." Harris says, "We've had roof damage. We've had siding damage." Siding is on the side of your house. "We have a shed out back where we've had siding damage on that. We've had our fence replaced twice." And Scott says, "Wow, Becky, that sounds expensive. I mean, there's the big ticket items, the expensive items, like a roof. Ouch. But I mean, here's a question. Like, what about insurance? Presumably, I assume it is likely, that adverb presumably, Jennifer's family had insurance on their house. I assume Jennifer's family had insurance on their house." Yeah, totally. They have home insurance and special flood insurance, which is actually one of the big recurring costs that they're dealing with related to extreme weather. So this family has home insurance and they have flood insurance, and you need to pay that over and over and over again. Recurring costs. They're required to have flood insurance because they're in a flood zone, but they weren't in a flood zone when they bought the house. So they bought the house and there weren't that many floods, so they didn't have to pay flood insurance. Then, possibly due to climate change, there were more and more storms, more and more floods, and now their home is in a flood zone. So they have a surprise recurring cost. Hersher says, I've talked to so many people all over the country who have this same problem, increasingly unaffordable flood insurance, in part because of climate change. So that is one big cost, this insurance. And that is on top of their regular home insurance, which, to your point, covers things like damage to your roof or damage to the siding on your house. So they have to pay both. They have to pay home insurance and flood insurance. And among those who had serious property damage, that collocation, property damage, or financial problems after a disaster, more than 70% said they were either uninsured or underinsured, meaning the money they got from their insurance company did not cover most of the costs of repairs. So, what does it look like if you're underinsured? So one example of what it looks like is what happened to Jennifer Harris and her family. A storm damaged their roof. So that is the answer to our quiz, our prediction. A storm damaged their roof. They assumed their home insurance would cover everything. But basically their insurance policy required them to pay 10% of their home's value out of pocket. There we see our phrase, out of pocket, from their own bank account. They're not using the insurance company's money, they're using their own money. So they had to pay 10% of their home's value out of pocket before the insurance company would start paying. Scott says, 10% of the home, not 10% of the cost of the roof, 10% of the home value. That's huge. The median home value in the US, I think, is like around $350,000, which means they're on the hook to pay $35,000 out of pocket. So this family had to pay 10% of their home's value before the insurance company would pay some money. And they had to pay 10% of their home's value. They were on the hook. They were responsible for paying $35,000 out of pocket, out of their own money. Yeah. Which I think is the cost of repairing the roof. Like, who has that kind of money sitting around? Not a lot of people. Jennifer said they were shocked by this and super frustrated, and they didn't have the savings necessary, so they had to ask her parents for help. Harris says, we budget, and I don't want to make it sound like we're poor, but honestly, we do live paycheck to paycheck, and it's hard to save up when something like that happens. So here we see the word budget, which was mentioned in our last live video. And then we have living paycheck to paycheck. Again, you don't make enough money to have extra money to save. You spend all the money that you make because you don't make enough. You are living paycheck to paycheck. And then Hersher says, she says it took 5 years for the family to recover financially. So let's check our predictions. What did we think happened to Jennifer Harris? We had, Ramon said A fire burned her house down. We had a couple D's, a flood destroyed her car. We had A, B, C, D. And our answer was actually B, a storm damaged her roof, along with the side of her house. Now, let me read some of these comments and then we'll make our predictions in a second. Let's see. Do you think health insurance is a good way to save your health? What do you think about insurance in general? Let me think about that one. I'll answer it in the Q&A, but that's a really good question, especially in the US where healthcare is ridiculous. My home, yeah, Van Tran, yay, you won. Yes, you did. You did choose B along with all the other letters. Ramon says, my home front flooded last year. I had to get towels and close all the holes in my garage to keep mopping the floor. Yeah, so this article that we're reading, I had to remove some of the information because it was too long. But one of the things was talking about preparation for natural disasters. You might have to buy emergency supplies. You might have to buy the sandbags to put out in front of your house. So with climate change and even just expecting or anticipating natural disasters, we have to spend a lot of money just to even prepare for them happening, even if they don't happen. What's the meaning of shed out? Let's go back. Let's see. Something about their shed. I think it was more at the beginning. Let's see. Let me find it. I think it was right here. Oh yeah. Okay. So, great question. Who is this? Amir. What's the meaning of shed out? So, let's look at this sentence. We have a shed out back. A shed is a little building, like a little extra building in your backyard where you keep your tools. You keep like a lawnmower, you keep gardening equipment. So this is actually not a verb. Let's look at this. We have a shed. We have subject, verb, and then direct object. We have a shed. And then out back is a prepositional phrase. Let's see, out back. I haven't thought about what part of speech that is. Out back. Yeah, prepositional phrase. Out plus, I guess back would be a noun here. But shed out is not a phrasal verb. It looks like one because you have an ed word that looks like maybe it's a verb, but it's not. You have to know that shed is a noun and it's a little building. So we have a shed out back where we've had siding damage on that. And so their little building in the back was damaged by the storm as well. Let's see. That's okay. No, don't say sorry. I love these questions. Love answering your questions. No, not my bad. We're all learning. Okay. So moving forward. Okay, I think this is where we were. All right. So Van Tran, good job. You guessed all the letters and you got it right. Let's shed like a small housekeeping stuff for farming or old things. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You guys, I love that you're answering each other's questions. That's so good. I love that. A teacher's dream, right? All right. So we're going to enter into the third and final part of our reading. So I want you to make one more prediction. Van Tran, no cheating this time. You only get to pick one. So what other research findings will be discussed in our last part? Do you think they will talk about A, climate change is good for tech companies? B, the poor suffer from weather-related financial problems more than the rich? C, CEOs of solar panel companies are benefiting from climate change? Or D, companies are having layoffs because of climate change? I'll give you a second. Think about what we're going to discuss next. Tech companies, financial problems for the rich and the poor, CEOs of solar panel companies, or layoffs. Van Tran chose B. What other options? Let's see. Roman the dog chooses B. Amir says A. I had to get creative thinking of these options. Ramon says B. All right. Let's check now. We're going to read and see if you can find the answer. Oh, well, we got to do some vocab first. Sorry, I always forget we have vocab to do. All right, I think we have 8 words here. So number 1, we've seen this word already, long-term, for a long period of time. Again, it's an adjective. Think long-term effects, long-term consequences, long-term impact. You might be thinking, Amy, I already understand what long-term means. Yes, but can you use it? You need to know it's an adjective, so put it with the nouns that it describes, okay? Number 2, to widen. This means to make wider or bigger. Now, you might know that wide is an adjective. You might know that width, W-I-D-T-H, is a noun, the width of something, how wide it is. But did you know that there is a verb form, to widen? I just get really excited when I see these kind of weird uses of words or infrequent words. And I like to let you know that this actually exists and is actually pretty useful, to widen, to make something wider or bigger. Number 3, inequalities, noun, something that is imbalanced, not the same or unequal. We often talk about like socioeconomic inequalities or inequalities between classes, social classes, rich and the poor. Speaking of rich and the poor, we have number 4. I love this phrase, and I think you're gonna love it too, because you might not have seen this before, but it's very useful. We have the haves and the have-nots. This as a whole phrase, the haves and the have-nots. This means the rich and the poor. The rich are the haves and the poor are the have-nots. So really weird phrase because we're using like the verb to have as a noun, which is very weird, but we do see this phrase a lot. So really good to know. And it's something that I feel like if you were reading, you would probably be very confused by. So the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor. Number 5, to back something or back someone up. Again, another great phrasal verb. The literal meaning is to move something backwards. If I back my car up, I'm driving backwards. I'm backing the car up. But the figurative meaning is to support an idea with evidence. So if you have an idea and then you have research about that idea, you can back your idea up with the research, okay? To back something up, to support an idea with evidence. Number 6, resilient. This means strong, and it can be used both physically, like a strong house, it's a resilient house, or emotionally, if you go through a difficult time in your life. If you go through a difficult time in your life, you are resilient. You are emotionally strong. Number 7, subsidize. Subsidize. Lots of S's and Z's, subsidize. This means to help pay for something. And usually we talk about government subsidies, the noun form, because they will step in and help pay for, social programs in your country. So maybe the government subsidizes food for the poor. The government helps pay for food for the poor. Very academic word. I hear it all the time in politics. I think it's a great word to know. Subsidize is the verb. And then lastly, number 8, to take the edge off. This means to give relief or help someone relax. The first thing I think of when I hear this phrase is drinking alcohol. People will drink alcohol to take the edge off. If they're really stressed out, they'll have, a beer to take the edge off, to give them some relief, to help them relax. So lots of really good vocabulary in this reading, and I hope you find it useful as well. Okay, we've got a lot of guesses here for our reading. Lots of predictions. We had A and B. Let me remind ourselves what A and B were. So we're looking for climate change is good for tech companies. A few people chose A, and then a few people chose B. The poor suffer from weather-related financial problems more than the rich. So let's check if we are right. Let's read part 3. Wow, can this survey look into what the long-term effects are of climate change impacting cost? Notice long-term effects here, the adjective long-term plus the noun effects. No, but there is research that looks at that. Like there was a study in 2020 that found that natural disasters can cause lower credit scores, more debt, more mortgage delinquency, and that people who live in less wealthy neighborhoods or in neighborhoods where most people are not white are hit harder. So we've got low credit scores, more debt, and more mortgage delinquency. That means you're not making your home payment. And that people who live in less wealthy neighborhoods or in neighborhoods where most people are not white are hit harder. This is in the US. And then they go on to say disasters can have the effect of widening. Notice that verb, widening existing inequalities, making inequalities bigger or greater. And it's going to create a bigger spread or a bigger gap, basically between the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor. And actually, this survey does back that up. It supports that idea that climate change is more negatively impacting the have-nots or the poor. So households that make less than $50,000 a year suffered weather-related financial problems at more than 4 times the rate of those who make more money. Yeah. So policies that take some of the pressure off of individuals and families would help. That's at least what disaster experts say. Things like building homes to be more resilient or to be stronger to withstand inclement weather in the first place. Subsidizing that special insurance like flood insurance for people who aren't as wealthy. Things like that would really take the edge off and maybe help people as extreme weather gets more common. So some ideas at the end are having the government help pay, have the government subsidize that special flood insurance that Jennifer Harris had to pay, right? Maybe making homes stronger to making them stronger to deal with the extreme weather, to not get damaged as easily, and just helping maybe poor people, give them some relief, so take the edge off and help those who are experiencing extreme weather. So we had lots of vocab in this reading. Yes, really advanced stuff here in this paragraph. I love that. I'm so glad. I think I have students of all different levels, so I'm always a little unsure of what will be useful for you, but I also know I have a lot of advanced students here, so I'm really glad you're finding it helpful. So let's check our predictions. What other research findings were discussed? We were between A and B. We had climate change is good for tech companies, or B, the poor suffer from weather-related financial problems more than the rich, and the answer was B. So most of you actually chose that one. So good job. We checked our prediction, we read the whole thing, and that is it for the lesson today. Unless you have questions, and I'll answer. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Let's see, Yasser Walid had one earlier about insurance. So Yasser asked me, do you think health insurance is a good way to save your health? What do you think about insurance in general? So in the United States, healthcare is very expensive. If you do not have healthcare and something happens, or if you do not have insurance and something happens, you will probably be in debt because it's so expensive. I just recently had like a checkup, like a yearly doctor's appointment, and I think it was like almost $1,000. It would have been $1,000, but I do have insurance, so I only had to pay $13. So basically, at least in the United States, you must have insurance to have to be healthy. So personally, I do think it's a good way to save your health, only because if you don't have insurance, then you won't be getting yearly checkups, and if something happens, you cannot really afford or pay to go to the doctor. Personally, I also think it's too expensive to pay for insurance, and I'm very fortunate because my the school I teach at pays for my, or helps me pay for my insurance. But I also recognize that it's very unaffordable for many people. So it's not really fair, because healthcare should be available and accessible to everyone, right? So we have a lot of work to do in the US regarding insurance and healthcare. Let's see. Thank you so much, Amy. Learned a lot today. Oh yes, Van Tran, you won again. You did win again, actually. I noticed that when you sent in your answer. Let's see, delinquency or delay. Let's check. I'm gonna check the exact definition of delinquency. I know it's not good. Let's see. Let's see. I'm not sure if you can actually see my screen or not right now, but a delinquency is just it says a neglect of one's duty. So your responsibility is to pay your mortgage, and if you are delinquent, you are not paying your mortgage. So it means, oh yeah, a failure to pay an outstanding debt. So here we go down here. A failure to pay an outstanding debt. That is delinquency. And let's see. Oof, Guion coming in with the hot question. What do you think about the Roe v. Wade overturned by the Supreme Court? Oh, do I have to give a whole lesson on this? It's absolutely devastating. And luckily for me, I live in California, where our state laws are different than the federal laws, or we have more access to abortion and healthcare than other people. But honestly, it's so hard to discuss, because I know it's a very heated topic, but overall, some people don't believe in abortion, and I respect that opinion. But at the same time, if someone doesn't agree with that opinion, then they should still have a right to health care and to their own life and their own decisions. And I personally know that it's going to affect a lot of poor people, because poor people, like we just talked about insurance, don't always have health care. They don't have access. They don't have money to maybe fly out of state to go get an abortion. They don't have the resources to take care of that if they're in a state that will not allow abortion. So I think this is just going to keep a lot of poor people in a cycle of poverty. That's one perspective on it. And I think in the US right now, we're in a really highly divisive and extreme political climate, where one side feels very strongly this way, one side feels very strongly this way, and we're kind of forcing our beliefs on each other. And so it's a bit frustrating when you have people in government making choices for you that you might not agree with. What do you all think about it? What do you know about it? Do you have more questions about it? I'm actually really interested in this topic. You've probably gathered from my videos that I like politics. I'm kind of interested in social issues like that. The interesting thing too about this is the states that are removing access to abortion also provide the worst services and have the worst statistics in terms of mother mortality. So mothers dying during childbirth. So women are being forced to give birth But those same states where they're being forced to give birth, they also have the worst rates of mothers dying during childbirth. And similar with child poverty, a lot of the states that have a lot of poor children are the same states that are forcing women to give birth. And so it's just very frustrating to watch states say, you must have a baby, but we will not help you once the baby is born. Or you. If I have a health insurance from a company in a state, can I use it everywhere in the US? Ooh, that's a good question. Insurance is very complicated, so I'm nervous to answer this. But from what I know and how my insurance works, your insurance company has an agreement with doctors and hospitals in their network. So if your insurance company has an agreement with hospitals, then you can use your insurance anywhere they have an agreement. And I do believe that if I were to go on vacation in New York City and something happened, I needed a doctor, I'm fairly certain that my insurance company would have agreements with doctors, with hospitals in New York City. However, everybody's health insurance is different. That's what makes insurance in the US so insane. Everybody's company has different agreements with different doctors. So like I can go to a certain doctor, but my friend who has a different insurance company, she might not be able to go to the same doctor as me. So to answer your question, it's just very complex. But overall, if you have good insurance, I do think that when you go to other states, they'll have doctors in your network. Good questions, you guys. Other questions, comments on Roe v. Wade, on insurance, on healthcare, on climate change. Also other requests for videos or topics. I want to start doing more live videos because I'm having a really good time with you all. I think, Yasser, you mentioned you want to do one on literature. What do you want to know about literature? That's not my strong suit, but I can try. Thank you so much, Amy, for dedicating the time to make this lesson. Oh, thank you so much, Amir. I'm so glad. I'll try and come up with even more advanced stuff. Seems like you guys really like that. And that's actually what I teach because I teach university students, so they're pretty advanced as well. Got it. I decide not having health oh, interesting. Oh, not all heroes wear capes. Is that me? That's so nice. Great idiom. That's really cute. For everyone still here, Dr. Evil just said not all heroes wear capes. And that's something we started saying in the last probably 5 years, talking about everyday heroes. So I think Dr. Evil mentioned this because I'm serving you, I'm giving my time, but I'm not a superhero, but I'm still working hard and serving you all. So saying that maybe I'm a hero, that's really cute and really nice to say. During the pandemic, we often talked about nurses and doctors, saying not all heroes wear capes. They're not superheroes, but in our mind, they're a superhero because they're helping us out so much. SoCalVeb, thanks. Appreciate it, Amy. You guys are so welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, let me know if you have video requests. I'll be working hard on editing some, but if not, I'll go ahead and end our live stream. And thank you so much for joining me. I hope I see you all next time.